Welcome back, everyone. The video you're about to watch is part of a live stream series that I do on Twitch where I teach people how to build an Android app from start to finish by building a task management application. I've removed the episode numbers from the videos because it's designed that each one can be consumed individually. Each week, I pick a particular topic or feature and focus on just that for the live stream. If you are interested in watching the full playlist, check out the links in the description below. But if you just found this one and it intrigues you, I hope you enjoy it and let me know what you think. And okay, let's pause. I'm going to split this up in YouTube again, if I remember, which hopefully I do. Um, okay, let's look at this other issue, which is when looking at a date, auto-populate that date on the Add Task screen. So what is meant by that, if you missed earlier comments, if I'm here on this defaults to today when the app opens. If I click through to say April 3rd, and then I press this plus button, I would like this date right here to auto-populate to April 3rd, because um, that is the date that I want to, like that's the date I was looking at. So it's maybe ideal that that's the date I want to schedule a task for. So we should auto-populate that. So let's make a new branch for this. I didn't pay attention, 128. Uh, so add task date. What is the word here? We'll just call it add task date. It's just the branch name. Um, okay. So too bad Raphael isn't here tonight. Raphael, for the new folks, is a person who built the Composed Destinations library that we use for navigation in this project. And I think what we're about to do is related to his library because we're going to try to write some tests to verify that when we navigate from one screen to another, we pass corresponding arguments to that screen. Um, and I don't know how easy that is to do, if at all. But let's look at the test options we have first. Um, let's see what we could do. So let's go into our add task. Or sorry, we have a task list content. Ooh, actually, this might get a little tricky. So let me rearrange my approach to this. I still would like to try to do a test-driven development approach, but let me start by walking through the work that we know has to be done, which might then help me with writing those tests, because some of you may not have seen all of the code that's here. So we have an add task. Oh, this is actually going to be, oh, this is going to get more complicated than we thought. So let's look at our task list screen first. This is way more complicated than I thought, because in our app, when we go to add a task, because why would I ever make something simple? We actually have two possible navigation paths. If we're on a phone, or sorry, if we're not on a phone, if window size is not compact, meaning we're not on a small phone like this, we want to launch a dialog to add the task. Versus if we are on a phone, we use this screen destination. And the benefit of that is on a tablet, we could just launch to a little dialog rather than try to optimize this sort of add task screen you see here for a really large device. We can just show them a nice dialog, and this has a relatively fixed size on it to make that work. But yeah, but in either case, we would need to pass to these destinations the currently selected date that comes from this view state. Now, here's why I said this was complicated. If I want to render this screen, by itself. That's actually kind of difficult because of this sort of hilt view model reference here. I think I have tried before, and it was something about hilt not being able to render something about hilt not being able to figure out how to create the view model. But I could be wrong, and I'm wondering if I'm wrong. So we'll find out. But here's what's going to have to happen. First thing is we're going to have to update this to pass the selected date as an argument to each destination. That is something we're going to have to do. The other thing we will have to do is in each of these screens, in the add task dialog composable, we would need to update this. Let's just put it here, we'll remove it. Update this to consume an initial date. But we could say default to today. Actually, if we're always going to pass it, even if it's looking at today's, I mean, okay. So we need to update this to consume an initial date, and the same thing is going to happen on the add task screen. We need to update this to consume an initial date. So those are the two things that is going to need to happen. So, what I am going to try to do is I am going to try first to see if I can indeed render this task list screen composable in a UI test without it crashing. If I cannot, a backup plan that I am fairly convinced will work is I could try to start the app itself, like actually start my main activity, which would be fine. What library we use? It's called Compose Destinations. Let me get a link for it. Um, it's made by a person named Raphael, who is actually a regular in here. They may stop by later. They're actually like in Portugal, so they may not come by. It's late over there. But this is their library. Um, yeah, it's really nice. So, as a quick explanation of how it works, is each of our composables that represents a screen gets this destination annotation. And here we specify, like, this one is the start destination. And it includes this navigator class. And when we navigate, it's as simple as just telling it what destination we want to navigate to. And this is an auto-generated class that gets generated from the different annotations that we have. So that's what happens there. There's a little more to it, but that's the general idea. And I do believe that I can create an instance of a destinations navigator to use in my tests, which is nice. Um, yeah, I could make my own. So So let's try to get the test working first. Let's see if I can run this or if I no longer have these issues. So we'll make TaskListScreen test. And that will go in the Android test directory. Okay. Um, and let's start. So we're going to need our compose test rule. Create compose rule. So we will say, let's say navigate to, let's just call this navigate to add task. We want to verify that we can navigate and pass a date accordingly. So let's do, well, I think, okay, so let's do compose test rule dot set content. And then we can do add or task list screen. The only thing required to give it is a navigator. Uh, and I think, he used to have, there used to be a test version of this. There is an empty destinations navigator. So the downfall of this empty implementation is that I won't be able to verify I actually won't be able to like verify any navigation happened. So I can't use this for what I actually want to do, but I want to start by finding out if this even works because I'm worried that it won't. I'm worried that the um, this call to hilt view model is going to crash my test, is what I'm worried will happen. So let's find out first. Ah, welcome back, Nevercom. Cheers. Um, if it does fail, I think we could create the view model ourselves. Um, okay, it did fail. Let's see if we can figure out why. Cannot create an instance of class task list view model. Um, will it tell me why it cannot create an instance? Because it has no zero argument constructor. Interesting. Um, so let's see if we can make our ooh. All right, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole here. Um, okay, we don't have to go down a rabbit hole. Let's look at a regular test. So we already have this fake get tests for date use case. So what I'm gonna do, sorry, let me articulate here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create my own view model here. But I need to pass use cases here. And I already have a fake get test for date use case, but this lives inside the unit test package. Um, there is a way to share code between our unit tests and our UI tests, and I would love to get to that, but I want to take the approach of more incremental development here, where I'm just going to copy it over um, and get my test passing, and then we can clean up this code later on. So let's add that. Um, we're going to have to import some stuff. Why is this yelling at me? It's telling me it's a redeclaration, but I don't think it actually is. I think it just thinks it is. Um, but I also need a mark task as complete use case, a fake one of those. And I don't think that exists yet. So fake mark task as complete use case. I made a typo, of course. I made a typo again. um, so this one actually, oh, this is used. But what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to leave that empty so that it works. Um, this is a good question, actually. Will this won't work? Am I gonna have? I don't know. I might have some issues here. Let's worry about one thing at a time. So now we've created our own view model with test dependencies. Is what's happening here. So let's see if using this, if we can run our test now and at least render the screen. I'm gonna have so many other ways to test this out. All right, that failed. Why did that one fail? Um, I got a null pointer exception. Yep, okay. So our fake use case for fetching tasks um, is when we invoke this, we expect there to be an actual mock of the tasks for a given date, which we have not provided. So um, we need to do that. So in here, um, we need to do like a mock first. So we could say get tasks for date use case, and then we can do get tasks for date use case that mock result for date. So date will be today. Result could just be flow of uh, does that work? It doesn't. Result dot success. Nope, I want my result class. It actually could just pass an empty list because I'm not going to concern myself with rendering a list of tasks in this case, but I need there to be a response. So we could just have our setup be an empty list. Okay, now will you run? Please? I'm begging. Um, nice. Okay. 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 We're getting somewhere. So I'm going to commit this, get this out of my head. So ability to render. Let's clean up some code here. I want to make this test very readable. So we've got our get task for date use case. Let's also do our mark task as complete use case. And let's also clean this part up and say like view model is this. And so now this piece of code here becomes a little more readable. So we could say able to render TaskListScreen inside unit test. Or UI test is what's happening here. Okay. So that is the first part. The next thing is, so I mentioned a concern with the empty destinations navigator in that this is basically a no-op situation, right? Like when we pass this in, if in our test I click a button to navigate, I'm not actually going to navigate because it's going to call this class, which will do nothing. Which is fine, arguably, for a unit test like this, or for a test like this one, but I want to go back and assert that an actual navigation call was made. So, um, so what we can do is go into our fakes package here, and let's create a fake navigation. What is it? I think it's Destinations Navigator is what it's called. We're going to make a fake Destinations Navigator. Yes. And let's put some notes on here for anyone else. So this is a concrete implementation of a Destinations Navigator that records all requests made so that we can assert the expected navigation occurred. So y'all might be asking me right now, Adam, why aren't we just using a mocking library? I'm pretty sure that one exists inside this code base. It does. And the answer is that I have been burnt on mocking libraries enough time in my life that I just don't like to use them anymore. And I like to write my own fake implementations of all the interfaces. I know it is more work up front, but I find them infinitely easier to maintain. And because it's code I've written myself, like I have control over any niched cases that I actually care about. That is my 2 cents. I think mocking libraries have a place, and if that's something you would rather use, by all means do so. But that is the reason I'm about to do this nasty amount of boilerplate. Um, but let's only do the amount of boilerplate that we care about um, for our test. And actually, this is going to be interesting. Why is this going to be interesting? Well, okay, let's do this. One thing is we're going to keep track of let's keep track of navigated routes, and this will be like a mutable list of strings that will start as empty. Whoops. But every time we call navigate, we can do navigated routes dot add route. So this route is like an identifier of the screen that we want to navigate to. And we can expose a public function that is, verify navigated to route. And then here we would do assert that, ooh, I might have to, okay, we do, whoops, hold on. Yeah, we do have it. I can do assert that navigated route contains expected route. So this is just asserting that, yes, at some point the navigate call was made so that we navigate to a given route. Um, I am really fascinated by whether or not this is going to work. Um, let's find out. Let's get our test. What I'll do with this test, as I'm thinking about it. Sorry, I want to make sure I wasn't just called there. Um, what I'll do with this test now I'm thinking about it is we'll get it working for our current navigation situation, and then we'll expand on it for this situation. So we'll get our destinations navigator being a fake destinations navigator and pass this. Okay, that works. So let's do this. And also let's specify for this one, we're going to say we're in a phone. Uh, because we do know we have 2 different types of navigation here, right? So let's say navigate to add task for compact window size. So now we can do on node. Let's find out if um, our floating action button has some modifier. It doesn't. So let's do the test tag approach that we took earlier. We'll call this add task button tag. And in our, where we have our floating action button, we will say test tag add task button tag. Okay, so in our screen test, we will do on node with tag, add task button tag, perform click. Now this should trigger navigation. And the way that we're going to verify that for this test is, whoops, we are going to say, we're basically going to go destinations navigator dot verify navigated to route. Our expected route, whoops, will be AddTaskScreen destination dot route. Is it that simple? Might be that simple. So let's run this test and let's see if that passes. So we won't actually see the navigation happen, which maybe we should. Maybe I should have just written a full, like, actual integration test with the actual screens here, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to make it sort of specific to this composable. So we're going to do it through the fake destinations navigator. But like I said, because that doesn't actually render any new UI content being a fake navigator, it's still enough that we can verify. Basically, where is our task list screen? Basically, we're verifying this block of code right here. We're verifying that when the button is clicked, we navigate to the correct destination. That is what we're verifying with this test. And we're doing it specifically for a compact screen. But what we can do is, nice, that passed. What we can do is we can actually copy this, and instead of for compact window size, we could say for expanded window size. We change what gets passed into our composable, and then our assert now is the add task dialog destination dot route. So let's run these again, but oh nope, that's only running one test. Let's run both of these tests, and they should make sure the navigation works correctly for both the compact and the expanded window sizes. Loving it. Okay, this is great. So let's commit this step and say testing navigation currently. So this is good, but this is good. So if I were doing a TDD approach here, though, what would change is, and here's what I don't know the answer to, which is why it's hard to write the test first. I would think that this line would change. Like, so I was looking at the navigate call here. So this just navigates to a route. And it does have this nav options builder. And I'm wondering if this is what supplies the arguments. Um, because if I change it to consume some arguments, like, does the route ID change? That's what I don't know. Um, Here is how I can find out. Here's what I'm going to do to find out. On the, actually, will this even work? So if we go to our add task, let's look at the screen one. If we go to our add task screen, in the destination, oh, actually, I could be even more, um, I think I can just change this. Will this do it? Let's find out. I'm going to build the project after adding this, which should run the annotation processor for composed destinations. And then we can take a look at the generated code for what the destination looks like, and we can figure out using that what we might need to do to update our test. Um, so we just got to wait for the build. Sorry, this could take a little while. Um, let's go ahead while we're waiting. Let's look at our pull requests. Whoops, not those. Uh, let's see. Okay, so our autofocus PR did succeed, so I'm going to squash and merge that. Um, so that can be out of the way. So yeah, this will get rebuilt. I might have to do a clean build. I don't know. Um, I also I noticed you're saying navigation arguments, parcelable, serializable, and enum work out of the box. I don't know if local date, um, like the Java local date item works for that. It might not. So that might not work out. But which would lead to a whole nother problem. We could always just pass like along. We're onto something here. Uh, well, close. These are unresolved. The Gradle build is still running. I should have just ran whatever task it was that I needed. Um, okay, here we go. We got something. It's hard to point this out, but we got an error because none of the functions, none of the following functions can be called. Blah blah, and that's because this destination thing doesn't work out. This AddTaskScreen destination, I actually need to pass in that local date. So this would be view state dot value dot select the date. Which again, I'm not supposed to do this yet because we're supposed to write the test first, but I want to see what this does. Aha. So the route is route ID slash initial date. Interesting. Okay. So can I so the question is, can I when this navigate call happens, can I get a reference to the arguments right here? Can I capture that somehow so that I can assert navigation happened with a certain set of arguments? And I'm not positive I can do that. Um, Interestingly enough. So let's do a little more digging down the rabbit hole of what happens inside here. Yeah, so that goes to the interface. So let's look at uh why won't you download sources? Don't make me restart Android Studio. Uh, um okay, let's look at the repo. Let's look for destination staff controller as the file. Um and let's see how this does. So I'm actually a little confused now that I'm looking at this. Am I missing something? Why does this allow me to pass in a direction um, and not just a route? Why was that? Was that missed in my fake implementation? Is there some weird voodoo going on here? It was. Why? Wait. Oh, weird. Why didn't it make me override this the first time? Okay. For some reason, it didn't make me override this the first time, which I don't know why. Um, but we can work with this. We can do the same idea. We could do navigated directions and have this be like mutable list of direction. And then here we can um, basically just do navigated directions dot add direction. And so in addition to verify navigated to route, we could just do verify navigated to direction. Expect the direction being some direction. And we do assert that navigated directions that contains expected direction. Okay. This, I think, is the assertion we've been looking for. So what we can do is inside our screen test, let's change this. So um, we're going to verify navigated to direction. So this will be, this is for the screen. So this will be AddTaskScreen destination. Initial date being local date.now. And the other one will be similar, but actually I can't um, add task dialog, but because this one doesn't consume anything, like there's no parameter, I can't pass like an initial date here yet. Um, but given that, let's run this test again and let's see if it passes by using the direction comparison instead. Um, and something we could think about with this test is kind of writing it with this initial render and navigating is we're expecting it to navigate with today's date. Um, I would also want to write a test or modify this test to instead like click forward and verify that we navigate with the next day, just to make sure that it is indeed uh, dealing with the use case. Ugh, wait, hold on. Why did this? Why? I think did this fail? No, it didn't. Or it did. Expected it to contain add task screen destination, but was oh no. Is this gonna be ha 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 sorry. I think what just happened here is we have a classic equals issue here. So um interesting. So this invoke returns a direction. Um uh oh, it creates an inline value of a direction. So I don't have I can't I can't run a direct equals check here because it's creating an anonymous class for the direction. And so um It's creating an anonymous class for the direction, so they're two different references. And because the anonymous class doesn't override the equals function, um, I can't verify that they're the same. So I would have to. Oh man. I would have to basically copy this code to run the correct. Um, to run that comparison. Which I guess, okay, hold on. But now that I've said that, let's let's not panic. Let's say, oh wait, okay, but let's not panic here. Let's let's do um so we could basically get like the expected route from here. And then we could do assert that um oh, let's do this even. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. The destination. Sorry, let me tell you what I'm gonna do. When I use a destination, a generated class from this library, and it converts it to a navigation direction, it builds a route using the serialized values of each parameters, which is a string. What I'm going to do is inside my fake navigator, when I navigate, rather than track that direction entity, I am going to add to the navigated routes the route from that direction that was created. So that will be the string that we are ultimately trying to navigate to. And then what I call this, verify navigated to direction, which is what I want my test to do, I'm going to pull that route, and then I'm going to say assert that navigated routes that contains the expected route. And this is how we'll be able to also verify navigation, including to destinations that contain arguments. And if I'm right, our test should pass again. I hope I'm right. Uh, and this is exciting. I'll have to share this with Raphael tomorrow. Nice, let's go. Huh, so good. Okay, so one more step is let's imagine we're going to add an initial date here, being local date dot now. This will, of course, not compile yet, but we can fix that by going to our add task dialog, um, removing this, saying initial date being local date, and um, oh, oh, oh no. I just realized another bug, but it's fine. It's fine. One at a time. One problem at a time. Um, we've tweaked this destination. We will go into our task list screen test and nope, sorry. We want to go into our screen and do the same thing we did here. Initial date being viewState.value.selected date. So let's run this. This should need to rebuild. Hopefully it does. Um, let's make sure this works. And I'll tell you what I just spotted about why this isn't going to work. Well, okay. So what was spotted here is that what we're testing is the navigation, right? We're testing that whatever my selected date is passed onto the add task screen as an argument. This looks good. It looks like it passed. Here's how I want to test this a little more thoroughly. Um, I am going to, before I do this, let's do compose test rule. Uh, um, dot on node with tag. I think. Sorry, give me one moment. Um, uh, I'm gonna add. I want to add test tags onto these buttons because I'm gonna tweak my test to run the task list screen, navigate to a different day, and then make sure that like next day is actually passed as a way to get like extra validation that we're not just passing the current day. So let's just do something like next day button tag. And inside our task list toolbar, um, on our left button here, we'll do next day button tag. So in our screen test, let's do next day button tag dot perform click. This is going to be annoying because we're also going to need to like modify some data for the next day, which is fine. But what we're going to do is when we navigate, we're going to say we want to assert that we navigated for like plus days equals 1. This is just an extra sanity check for me to make sure that we're not just defaulting to the current day, but we can actually change our selected date and still that is what's passed to the navigator. This was a good test. This was interesting. Um, but I haven't explained why this isn't enough yet. And once I commit this, I will. Um, aha, you failed. Why'd you fail? Expected exactly one node, but could not find any node that satisfies test tag next day but. Oh, that's weird. Why not? Should I put it on the icon button itself? Maybe that's what I need to do? Whoops. The toolbar is rendered in the test, isn't it? I think so. Um, I hope so. Hmm, that's so weird. It's like, oh wait, hold on. Okay, now it was able to navigate, but then our mock didn't work. Why not? Oh, I put the test tag on the wrong button. Um, this is our previous day button. I was assuming that I was putting it on the next day button, which is the right button. So now let's try this again. Classic. Ah, come on, I just want this to pass so I can get to the other part. There's a second step to all this. Testing, navigating to add task with date. Okay, the test passed. So we have verified that we can change the date on the home screen and navigate to the add task screen, whichever one we want to use, um, with that selected date. This all sounds great. So if we try it manually, though, we're going to be thoroughly disappointed because if I go to April 2nd and I add a task, it's still showing March 30th. And that is because while we're passing it to the new destination, we're not doing anything with it. So if like when we create the screen, like what am I trying to do? Inside our add task, let's look at the screen version. So we consume this initial date and then we just don't do anything with it. Um, so we need to figure out how to do that. Um, and I wonder what we should do. Um, because I've talked to Raphael about this, and there's some different options. Um, let's see if he has anything in his in the README that kind of explains um, what we should do. So you can get it from the save state handle in the view model, which is maybe what we should do here. Um, which I forgot how that works. Let me pull up another project real quick where I know I do this. Um, nope, not that one. Um, okay, so in the view model, we should be able to consume a save state handle, which Hilt can provide for us automatically. And then inside of here, we should basically be able to do like um, what is how did I do it? Hold on, I gotta look at my other thing. We can get our nav arcs by doing like um, add task. Oh, it's also by ah, we're deep into the rabbit hole here. Um, so the way we could pull these nav args is we could do like add task screen destination dot args from save state handle, and then we give it that save state handle, right? Um, but now, what is the problem with this? Well, as we've talked about, we have two different types of navigation happening here. Sometimes we navigate to the screen, sometimes we navigate to the dialogue. So we don't pull the navargs the same way. Um, so this can be changed with composed destinations. It just means we have to. But basically, what we would do is we would get those navargs, and then when we create our initial state, we could basically do something like um, on scheduled date change navargs dot initial date, which maybe the date should actually be passed into that initial um, what is it, into that initial state. But um, yeah, let's start by not worrying about that and thinking about how we can because this is actually a good point that I kind of overlooked here. So each of these constructors is different. because they're two different destinations. But in practice, I want them to consume the same information. So I should have pointed out from the beginning that I should create some sort of like arguments for this add task screen, um, some sort of like data class that whether I go to the screen or the dialog, I could pass the same arguments. So let's do that. Let's call them add task arguments. So this will be a data class. And we could say this is information required when launching the add task screen. And all we have right now is our initial date, which is some local date. So I think what we change this to is instead of putting it in the dialog here, on the destination annotation, we give it a navargs delegate, and this is basically we do add task argument class. And we can actually rename this add task nav arguments. Let's call it that. And we'll do the same delegate on the screen version. So that for each of these navigation types, we're going to have the same setup. So I'm going to do, can I find, I thought there was a Gradle test somewhere for like generating the destinations, but I don't remember what it's called. So we're just going to do another build, and we're going to have to wait a minute, but that's going to break this screen, or the TaskListScreen class that we had. Because what we'll do here is we'll actually create an instance of navargs. And our initial date being viewState.value.selectedDate. But what's nice is now our call is going to look more like this somehow. I don't remember exactly what this looks like, but we'll pass that same data class into both destinations. I think I need to wait for... Oh, did it build? No, it hasn't. It's still building somehow. I think it is. No, maybe it wasn't. So we'll need it to rebuild, and we can figure out how to pass those arguments into that generated class. Is it still... Oh, does it still... So maybe it takes each argument from the navargs? Because it's still wanting an initial date. That's fine then, we'll just do navargs.initial date. We'll just do that. Will that work? Let's see if our screen test still works. How's everyone doing? Hope all of you are having a good week. Okay. There. Oh, I ran the app, but looks like navigation works. Wait, did that work? Why did that work? I thought I didn't revert this code. Okay, so this works. Because what we're doing is we're getting our navargs, and we're calling on task scheduled date changed. So this technically worked. I can go to April 4th, and it works. So it does work. It's not how I want this to work, though. I would do this differently. Um, Here's how I would do this differently. Um, I would um, I don't think I need to get the args and then call this again. What I would do is I would get the args when the VModel is created. So here, and now we'll change this. We'll do um, can I do how do I do I think I could do uh how do I do it? He told me there was a way to do this. Um oh, this does interesting. So this is still relying on me knowing which destination I'm at. I'm gonna have to leave this as a question for them because I guess I can't really do the type safety here if I don't know what destination I'm on. So what I could instead just do is I could basically do like I think I can just uh pass the string. So I can say initial date, which would be a local date. An optional local date would be save state handle that get initial date. That would work, should work here. Um, and then I would change our initial view state to basically consume that initial date. But we could default to like today when we create this. Oh, well, I guess it's now a data class. Or class? Oh god. We'll make it a data class. Um, and we'll pass that into our task input. So here's how we could change our initial date configuration. Um, this will be fun. Let's clean this up. Initial date or local date dot now. Make this private. Um, okay. Will this work? I don't know. That might work. Um, Here's hoping. We got an error. Classifier initial design. Ah, I see. Because I changed that from an object to a data class. So we have to add parentheses there. Thank you all for bearing with me. I know this has been confusing. Um, this stream started off pretty straightforward, and then we got into the weeds with this one. But I think it's a good thing. Let's go April 2nd. Nice. We do, in fact, have um, our date here. So I'm going to commit this. We're going to say using initial date on AddTaskScreen. Now, we don't have a test for parsing from that save state handle, and I don't actually know how easy that is to do, if at all. Um, I might actually have some broken unit tests now that I think about it. But let's go ahead and push this. We'll get a pull request running, and while the pull request is running, we'll continue talking about what's going on here. So we'll say showing selected date on the add task screen after navigating. So, and this will say fixes number 128. Enhancements. This can go in the task management project. go ahead and create pull request. So one thing I'd like to test manually here as well is I want to make sure this does also work when we use the dialog flow. So I'm just going to change this condition around uh, so that it launches a dialog instead, and we'll make sure that the date and all the focus work we were doing um, works here as well. Yep, it does. So there's the dialog. We can see April 1st was selected. So it works in that situation as well. Um, okay. So, what do we do? Well, so the question was, can we test the initial date argument? That's a good question. So let's look at the AddTaskView model real quick. What? Um, AddTaskView model. So there is an AddTaskView model robot here that creates our view model, but this is failing because there's no past parameter for save state handle. So that's fun. I don't know. Can I do this? Is this? God damn it. Um, I don't know. Let's do some googling. Um, save state handle in unit tests. Android. Okay, someone's trying to mock it. Let's see if there's. Oh, so someone did mock it with a library, which sounds like it might have worked, but um, I guess we could just use a mocking library because I don't think, because this is a final class, I can't make my own implementation of the save state handle. So, okay, so let's try making our own. Um, we'll say relaxed equals true. Um, so we'll pass the mock there. Let's go into our view model tests. Now let's run this by default and let's see if it works. If it just passes. And then if it does, we'll add a new test which mocks a specific scheduled date and then verifies that that scheduled date or that initial date um, is passed in accordingly. All right. Object cannot be cast to local date. Okay, so let's do an optional cast here. Um, so that I'm not forcing that cast to happen. Oh my god, I cannot believe we just hit 2 hours. This does not feel like it to me. This stream flew by. Um, Come on. I know you want to pass. Okay, looks like they passed. So cool. Um, but we could do a little more here. So we could basically say mock initial date, uh, where we get our local date. And then here we could say, so here we're going to use the mocking library. After I said earlier in the stream, I prefer not to use them, but this is a situation where it has helped me in a way that I can't make my own fake implementation. Um, so we're going to say every time we call mock save state handle dot get with initial date returns date. Will this work? Not enough. How do I specify this? Does that work? I feel like this might not work, but this will be a good learning opportunity for us. Um, so let's make a new test. Uh, we'll say render or create with initial date from save state handle. That's a long test name, but that's what it's doing. Um, we're going to say our initial date. Let's put in a specific date. Um, I basically want to put in something not today because again, today is the default. So I really just want any date that's not today. So let's just like throw in another day. We'll make it like tomorrow. So we can do test robot, mock initial date, and then we can say build view model, and then assert view state. Um, our expected view state is add task view state dot initial um, with that initial date. That is our expected view state. And let's run that. Let's see if that works. Oh, that get call just made me realize something. So this might fail, but I think I know how I can make it pass. Oh, that passed? Oh, okay. I was thinking I think I can do this now. Instead of that as call, I can put it on the get. Okay, the compiler probably treated that as the same thing, but this might read a little nicer. So let's run the test again with this change and just make sure it still passes. We can go ahead and commit this and we can say fixing unit test. And with that, I think 2 hours is pretty good. I think we could. Tristan, he just came through. Hype. I could stay on a few minutes longer. I don't have to wrap up just yet now that you're here. Uh, welcome. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. That's okay. I mean, you West Coast folks are in like a different time zone, so I get it. We're doing good. We did a lot today. We did some copy updates. We did some what else did we do? We did some small feature tweaks. We did some testing. Um, we did something else after copy updates that's escaping me. Oh, I'm actually going to need to. Oh, we did some auto focusing of input fields. That's what we did. We're also going to need to add here. What was this last one? Sending date to add task screen. So now, with this one, hopefully our GitHub Actions should pass. Um, let's check on this. We can see, we're going to have some merge conflicts here, which is classic. Let's go ahead and resolve those real quick. And what I think I'll do before I sign off is I will run, going to run all of our tests locally just to make sure that it does pass. I could probably run it locally faster than I can wait for the GitHub Actions. So we're going to do Gradle clean build and then also do connected check. And that should run like the clean. It should build, which will also hit test and lint. And then connected check should run all of our UI tests. And while that's running, I might go see who's online for us to raid. Let's see. Rocket League is live. I wonder what they're doing. Probably some CRL stuff. Cocoa Type is not on tonight. Wonder what's going on with that. We'll go raid my favorite McLando Rocket League streamer. None of the science and tech streamers I followed seem to be on right now. I'm going to go ahead and switch over. I'm going to call it. I will make sure this PR passes. But thank you all for coming. Sorry, one moment. I am very blue right now. I will try to get this up on YouTube soon. I know that I'm a little behind. I am sorry about that. I should start raid because it's going to take like 10 seconds. But hang out, don't leave yet. Let's go over to McLando, show him some love. If you want to leave after that, you can leave after that. But when you raid with me, you also get channel points from my stream. So those of you who are saving up for the infamous Captain America, you may want to hang on for this. And it looks like we're ready. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I will see all of you next Wednesday.